Hey, how's it going, guys? MrBossFTW here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, we're going to be talking about some of the secret locations of the Doomsday Heist DLC trailer. So believe it or not, the trailer had a lot of little hints and clues as to where things seem to be taking place during this DLC. So what we're going to be doing is going through the trailer and going in order and talking about the places that show up either on screen or that are talked about, etc. So I don't know what this is. To me, it looks like a really futuristic classroom, but when you walk in, you see this sort of like half halo board. And on the right side, you can see a couple of photos. So the big photo in the middle, it's titled The Data Breach. And this actually has us acquiring, I believe that's the Akula helicopter. Now, that location that helicopter is at is in the Fort Zancudo swamp or marsh. That's where that thing is. It's chilling out right there. So I'm guessing we're going to have to retrieve it from that location or somewhere similar. And then there's a handful of photos on the right side. The one at the top, I'm actually really struggling to figure out where that is. So that one on the top right, I'm actually struggling to figure out where it is. At first, I thought that was, some part of the observatory or the quartz center, but I'm not sure. The two photos below that are pretty small, so it's hard to kind of blow up where that is, but we do know where the bottom one is, and that is at the Noose facility on the east side of the map. So you'll actually see a little bit later that this has a special highlight on it, but they show us in this photo right here, so that is at the Noose Center. Now, if we fast forward just a bit, we can see our friend Avon here. That's his name, by the way, and behind him, the entire map of Los Santos is red. So I'm not sure what that means. Probably not a good thing, but what we can see on the left side is that there is three little targets, or three X's. And I've actually found out where these are. So the one on the far right, this is for the news center that we were looking at earlier. So I'll actually show you guys on the map right now. I just put these red squares on where the locations are. That's the news center on the right side of the map. So that's location number one. Then there's two other ones that are kind of difficult to make out as well because they aren't exactly detailed. Now, what I can assume these locations are like objectives, like places we have to go to either acquire something or take out something. Both of these are located just east of downtown Los Santos. One is really close to Mirror Park, and one is closer to South Los Santos, kind of near the strip club. So that's where those two are. And I don't know what we're going to be doing there. Obviously, those are going to be some sort of mission objectives. Now, if we fast forward just a little bit, we can see, even though the Rockstar Games logo gets in our way, there are 10 X's on the map. So we've seen 13 total. We just covered the first three, and these are the next 10. Now, as we zoom in on the map, you can see the other map on the screen next to it. The red area seems to be getting smaller. I'm not sure if that's important or not, but we do get some insight, I think, as to what these are supposed to be. They look like those red X's are for potential missions. So the one highlighted on the screen is Prep Deluxos, and it's fight your way through a security team to access the garage where the Deluxos are stored. So what I think this is a set of locations where the Deluxos potentially could be. So I think we're going to have to find the red X's where the Deluxos are stored. Now, I've actually gone and found out where those red X's are too, and their locations are really interesting. So let's pull it up on the map right now. These are all mansions. I kid you not. So these are actually many of the mansions we looked at before we knew the theme of the Doomsday Heist. And like I said, I've got red squares on all of them right now, but all of them are big Vinewood Hills mansion. You can see they kind of make a border between the Richmond Golf Course and all like the Vinewood Hills. So those are the 10 locations right there. I would assume that's where we would maybe break into people's garages, figure out what people have the Deluxos. I don't know. That sounds pretty cool. But those are the 10 marked locations right there for the, I guess, mission that we're going to be doing, or at least the mission that was on the screen during the trailer. Now, I have no clue what this is supposed to be right here, but this is clearly targeting North Korea. So the focus up top says North Korea, and the three things that are going on there is something war. I'm going to assume that says cyber war, IAA leaks, and U.S. defense malware. So those are the three things happening in North Korea. I'm not sure what that has to do with this heist mission, but again, could be pretty interesting. This next area right here where we see our four guys with the night vision goggles on, I think this is a completely new area. I mean, where is this supposed to be? A16? This honestly looks like a massive server room, but where could that be? I don't see anything like that in the game unless Rockstar have put this inside of like a building like the IAA or something like that. Not really too sure, but this is pretty interesting, so we'll have to figure out where that ultimately is. Now, this next bit is pretty interesting too. This is where we have two characters surrounding this circular table or tablet screen, and they basically have this God's eye view at Los Santos, and then they launch this orbital strike onto this convoy on the highway. And the bigger question here is, where is this facility? Now, throughout some of the other parts of the trailer, we see various other rooms, high-tech laboratories, and in one scene in particular, we see sort of a boardroom with IAA written on the backdrop. I would only assume that this is in the IAA building. I mean, where else would you have this sort of sophisticated technology? Where else would you have this sort of weaponry that you can use at a giant table like this? I want to say that this is going to be potentially the new property that we end up buying, and the only place I could see based off of the signs we've seen on the wall and just the high tech is that we're going to be buying office space in the IAA building. To me, that would make the most sense, and that's how we would ultimately get this started. I mean, where else could something like this be? However, that brings me to my second point. Have you noticed that every room we've looked at so far has been circular? I think it's that way for a reason, because what if all of these rooms are inside of the missile silo, or at least attached to it in some way, shape, or form, which is circular? I mean, if you think about it, every single room has this circular interface to it, which is a little bit unique. So I wonder if those two will be connected. And then it makes you wonder, where is this missile going to launch from? Some people have been saying the submarine, although I think the submarine we saw was way too small. Other people have said it's going to be somewhere outside of Fort Zancudo. Others have stated that it will be on top of Mount Chiliad. However, I don't think that's the case because of one of the scenes we actually see next, and that is the jetpack scene. So the first jetpack scene we see is kind of underground. And it looks like our characters are stepping onto this elevator, or at least this shaft that'll take them up to the surface. And then the second scene, we don't see them leaving Mount Chiliad, but necessarily just floating over Mount Chiliad. And I would assume that that door with the logos on there, with the egg, the jetpack, and stuff like that, I'm assuming that's where we'll quote-unquote exit from. But that's where that location is taking place. If it wasn't obvious enough, we escape in jetpacks, and that's where the explosion in the last little sequence takes place, right above Mount Chiliad. Now, before we go, let's move on to a couple more miscellaneous locations that I think were pretty cool and were definitely interesting. Number one is this location right here. We've got our crew members, or I guess some of the guys that are doing the heist with us. They're dressing up as paramedics, and they are inside of the morgue. So this is where Slasher takes place, one of the Slasher missions, and this is where, in free mode, Michael has to escape from. So this is the morgue. You can recognize that by the oddly shaped, like, glass kind of cubicles in there. So it looks like what's going on here is we are stealing data from a computer, and that would make sense. Paramedics fit in pretty easily at a morgue. This also follows the same sort of pattern we did in the original heist update, where you dress up as a police officer and then infiltrate the police station. This time we're dressing up as a paramedic and we're infiltrating the morgue. So that's another location. One location I could not figure out to save my life. It only appears rather briefly for a couple scenes. We've got two characters that are shooting at something using two new Mark II weapons. And in the background, there's like some electrical sparks going on. And it looks like there's like this glowing orange thing on the left-hand side. It almost looks like they're in like a furnace room, which is really strange. So I don't know if this is going to be another interior that's added. Certainly looks like it's underground somewhere. At first, I thought this was like Trevor's torture room, but it definitely looks like it's something completely different. So wasn't able to figure out where that is, because who knows, it might not even be in the game yet. Now, something else that's important to Mount Chiliad, since we're on that topic, and one thing I didn't notice, now this has something to do with the location because it's actually been changed. So you actually see the antennas that are sticking out of the ground as this plane goes by. It looks like those are like in-ground SAM sites that you can have on top of Mount Chiliad to shoot at incoming objects or something like that. Or Mount Chiliad is the thing we actually have to infiltrate, and that's the enemy shooting at us. So maybe that gives us a better idea of where the rocket silo, where the base takes place. It could be in Mount Chiliad, because why else would they have these SAM missile defense systems here if they weren't guarding anything important? That's kind of the logic I'm thinking of here, is that something is going on inside of Mount Chiliad. other than just the jetpacks and escaping. But anyways, that right there are the major locations that take place in the Doomsday Heist trailer. Some of the other ones were fairly obvious, like highways, or we obviously couldn't tell, like flying over Mount Chiliad or driving down one of the highways. Pretty obvious stuff, but I wanted to get the more tricky things out of the way in this video. So like I said, let me know in the comments section down below, or message me on Twitter if you feel like you have found any other pretty cool secret locations or anything like that. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you did go on to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. We relate daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.